Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Howard the Duck buff. Now, I'll be honest, his buff initially does not seem as potent as Crossbone's buff did, and obviously Nova hardly got touched at all, but there might be some very interesting abilities that could work out much better in practicality than they initially appear, with some insane potential damage output. Right, so we're gonna go over his abilities one by one and discuss how it affects. So first of all, he is bleed immune now. So that's changed. That's obviously a good change for the character. They're kind of like tacking up that bleed immunity to a ton of champions. Like Gambit is practically bleed immune now. Magneto Marvel now is practically bleed immune now. And we also have Howard the Duck, who is bleed immune now. Surprise, surprise. Also, Howard's personal buffs and debuffs expire one at a time, and that is going to be important to see how long it takes for them to expire, because apparently we do not need exact descriptions. But anyways, they do expire one at a time. We don't know what time, but and how rapidly, but hey. And this Button Musher Extraordinaire also seems like quite an interesting ability that's going to be extremely important. Now, that is also his pre-fight ability. Now, rapidly pressing the block button at different times in the fight grants Howard special mash bonuses. Each mash bonus requires more presses of the block button than the last within the same window. In the pre-fight menu, Howard can activate the auto masher, which lasts for the duration of the fight. While auto masher is active, all mash bonuses will be handled automatically for Howard. While fighting as a defender, auto masher is always active. So this again is extremely vague, and there is no way for me to tell you how practical it is going to be, how many times you need to mash it, and what is the time window allocated for it. Therefore, it's extremely difficult for me to tell you whether it's going to be viable or not. So I really, really, really hate these type of descriptions. But let's move on. Before the fight starts, gain 1 indefinite dormant armor. Mash. Gain additional dormant armors. When the fight starts, each dormant armor is converted into an indefinite armor buff, increasing armor rating by 259. So that's gonna function similarly to how it does right now when he starts a fight with a bunch of armor ups. Just this time, in order to get more of them, you need to do some button mashing, unless the pre-fight's active. But here is the cool thing. While either champion is stunned, 100% chance to gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by 235.8 for 10 seconds. Max stacks 50. Mash gain an additional Fury buffs. Oh, there we go. So every time you parry, you're going to gain a Fury buff. And if the above ability is correct, then basically they're going to be dropping off one at a time. So long as you, let's say, parry opponent or stun opponent more frequent than every 10 seconds, you will be consistently building up Furies. Now, it isn't a potent Fury. Really isn't. But in longer fights, you could potentially get some decently good damage output, which could be interesting. Perhaps. We're going to see how it works out. But yeah, so basically every time you parry, you gain Furies. That's kind of an interesting mechanic. I like that. Now, also heavy attacks, 100% chance to inflict armor break debuff, removing an armor buff and reducing armor rating by 76.17. Now, that is a pathetic armor break. It only lasts 5 seconds. Max stacks 10. Mash additional hits can inflict additional armor break debuffs. Cool, but it's a pathetic armor break. It's armor break in name. It will not result in any meaningful damage bonus, quite honestly. It's one of the saddest armor breaks that we have available in game. Okay, special 1. 100% chance to inflict 2 heal block debuffs, each lasting 2.5 seconds. Mash inflict additional heal block debuffs. Interesting. Heal block debuff stacking there. Special 2 BFG surprise. 80% chance to inflict the suppression debuff, reducing combat power rate by 10% for 4 seconds. Mash additional hits can inflict additional suppression debuffs. Now, the whole idea here is because they are also meant to fall off one at a time, so the short duration, I believe, will actually result in significantly longer increase, because each of those debuffs kind of like fall off one at a time when you stack them up. Therefore, when you inflict 2 heal blocks that last 2.5 seconds, at the very least, you're gonna gain that 5-second duration then. So that is the way it's working out, and that's why these durations seem so short. Same with these suppression debuffs. So let's go with special 3. 100% chance to inflict as 3-second stun debuff. If Howard gets perfect result in Special 3 minigame, stun debuff becomes passive and lasts 4 seconds. Okay, cool. And then we have signature ability, always active. If Howard is fighting in any fight with a class advantage, he breaks out his legendary Quack Fu to gain the following: critical resistance equal to 40% of Howard's armor rating. Now, he's gonna effectively be like a mutant killer, and to counter Domino and I think Apocalypse as well to a degree. Basically, mutants will hardly ever crit against the guy. Base ability accuracy is 115 instead of normal 100%. That means that Domino's crit fail will never trigger because he will have 100% ability accuracy, so that is literally meant to counter Domino. And incoming debuffs suffer minus 1.3 second duration, and this could actually be extremely potent because that also includes like stun debuffs, so he, with Limber Mastery maxed, I think he can pretty much become stun immune against mutant characters, which probably will be super helpful against like Apocalypse or something. So there are interesting things, and he's kind of like a mutant hunter, if you will. Right, synergy bonuses, some of them were quite cool, like Howard the Duck critical hits pause all personal debuffs for 0.5 seconds. This might interact extremely well with his abilities, that is with Gwenpool, Spider-Ham, and Goldpool. Then we have the one with Daredevil and Doctor Strange and Luke Cage and whatever not. I don't think that's too potent. Opponents suffer 65% ability accuracy, but 65% is not kind of enough to rely on. And this one could lead to some very potential cheesy matchups. It's not going to be important in 99% of the times you use Howard the Buff, but Howard the Duck. So knocking the opponent down removes all their prowess effects and grants Howard 1 prowess buff for each effect removed this way, each increasing special attack damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Now that could be a very interesting, cheesy way how to steal opponents' passive prowesses and like aggression prowess node, for instance, and drop some major special attack. So in theory, for instance, you just parry for ages till opponent builds up like 40, 50 prowesses or whatever, drop a heavy attack, steal their prowesses, drop a level 1, and boom, you do some interesting, huge damage. Now, overall, it does look inconclusive. He could have some very good uses. It entirely depends on that mash mechanic. How hard it is to activate it, how much time you have, so on and so forth. That is the sad bit. Now, a lot of the things here seem somewhat underwhelming, like that armor break is honestly pathetic, and those fury buffs are relatively tiny as well, but you can stack them up to 50, so I think that would kind of work out like as that Civil Warrior buff, because 235 times 10 would be 2,350, and times 5 again, that would be like 10,000 attack increase potentially, which is huge, which is about 4 times what he starts with, so he can have like a huge attack increase. But how easy it is going to be get there, it all really depends on that mash mechanic. So I think it's a curious buff. It's not something expected, but yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see till he's actually live. I do have Howard the Duck at rank 4 as a 5-star because I had some spare variant gems. So I will do some testing with him, and hopefully he is actually very cool and viable character. As I keep saying, it entirely depends on that mash mechanic, which is why I hate when they don't have a clear ability description. How long is it interval? And yeah, how many times you need to press that block? We'll see. It does look like he is going to be a better version of himself, though. So I can support that. I do like that about him. And hopefully he's not going to be just good for long fights, even though that is like specifically mentioned in his strengths. Long fights are his strength. So long fight champions are needed, but realistically they are seldom used because none of us want to spend a longer amount of time in a fight than it's necessary. Anyways, that will about do for Howard the Duck. Now I do have Silver Centurion left, and I do have Jabari Panther left. So I'm going to try my best to get it done, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, catch you guys soon, and see you later. proceed with. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the